Back in junior high, I had a little T-shirt. Said, you know what it said?
What did it say?
It said, "No fear, no fear." Put that thing on. Pick up my skateboard. Go do a couple double ollies. 360 boneless against the rails behind AJ Smeltzer. West 49. Do you like those scary movies? Like to give yourself a little thrill on a Friday night in? Rent a DVD-ROM or two?
I watched the Scattered scary movie.
Yeah. Did you see that one, Saw?
Yeah.
Saw?
I saw that one.
You what?
Yeah, I saw it. Very, very funny.
He's got the clown mask, right? And he kidnaps all these people. He ties them up. They're all up in chains, and they're like hanging from the locker room, and they're in the toilet. One lady's chained to the toilet, right? And he's coming over the loudspeaker. He's got this microphone. He's got this whole haunted mansion wired for sound, right? And he comes over. He's like, "You have 5 minutes to live. Do you see that chainsaw over there? Cut your own arms off, or I'll kill you." And then later he's like, "You see that person over there? I'll kill you unless you kill them. Take this fork and put it in their eye." "Saw their arms off with your own arms. Sharpen them and then use your arms to cut off that other guy's arms." And what a lot of people don't know is that movie Saw was based on a true story. A lot of people chalk it up to, just these Hollywood thriller writers. But their inspiration came from real life events.
It was based on a true story.
It was based on a true story. Saw, not just Saw, but Saw 1, Saw 2, Saw 3, Saw 4, and Saw 5. Did you ever hear of this guy JFK? Among scientists who study fear, there's long been controversy as to how to actually measure fear. Like, how do you quantify it, right? And for a long time, they measured fear in kilojoules, which was fine, right? You have these values, like 20 kilojoules, 200 kilojoules, 222 kilojoules, to measure somebody's response, their fear response to a particular stimulus. But the arithmetic got really, really tricky, right? Because you would say, like, "Oh, I'm afraid of clowns over here. That's like 45 kilojoules of fear. And then I'm afraid of stockbrokers. That's maybe 12 and a half kilojoules." But when you start combining those things, the arithmetic just gets really, really tricky, right? So it's like, what if you've got a stockbroker who is also a clown on the weekends, maybe does kids' parties, drives around in like a white van with a balloon on the side? How do you multiply that? Do you cross-factor and divide? Is there algebra or geometry involved? Like, the kilojoule, just the unit, is not set up for that. So they've basically simplified it, not only for their own purposes, the scientists, but for sort of the common person to understand. And now it's very, very simple. It goes 0 to 10, and it's anywhere in the range. So any particular thing that you might be afraid of, 0 to 10, they call it your fear factor.
The fear factor.
Your fear factor. So you might have like a 6.3. It's like the Richter scale. It's exponential. And up here, sort of the what do they call it? Terminal velocity of fear. Like when you're falling out of a plane. Can't go any faster, or be more afraid. Sort of like infinite fear. And like maybe somewhere around here on the fear factor would be eating like a cow penis. One of the really great things over the past couple of years that researchers have done is they've sort of canonized the things that people are afraid of. They've made lists, not unlike the 7 deadly sins, right? You've heard of those?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of
Heard of
those.
the 7 heavenly virtues, 7 steps to recovery, 7th heaven, all these sort of 7s. They figured people can remember things in 7. So we're gonna figure out. We're gonna travel the world. We're gonna talk to lots and lots of people from all sorts of different cultures. We're gonna ask them what they're afraid of, and we're gonna distill those down into 7 basic fears. 7 basic fears that everyone can be afraid of. So the first one you're probably familiar with, right? This would be the fear of spiders. You know what that one's called? Arachnophobia.
Yeah,
Arachnophobia.
I've heard of that one.
They've also got the fear of oil tycoons, which is arachnophobia. You get the fear of hat racks, which is arachnophobia. The fear of electronic hat racks on the internet is arachnophobia. Fear of Jewish rappers, big one, I know. Adrochnophobia. Then you've got, if sometimes in the fall you'll be really kind of concerned that you might slip and fall on some leaves that have fallen from the trees. So the fear of fallen leaves. You've got arachnophobia, and then probably the worst is sort of the crippling fear, and I know a lot of people are afflicted with this. The crippling fear, you live in worry that you're going to develop an ear infection, and that's arachnophobia. So arachnophobia, 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 adrochnophobia, arachnophobia, and arachnophobia. And those, and the beautiful thing is that sort of anything you could possibly be afraid of in the world is just sort of an extension of one of those. It all comes back to the core 7.
But, well, I'm not. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Everything, any possible fear that you could have.
When I was young, I remember watching The Cosby Show, and that episode where they found a snake in the house and they had to go put it in the pillowcase and get rid of it.
Yeah.
Ever since I saw that episode, I've been terrified of snakes. I have no. That doesn't fit into any of the ones that you.
Well,
just
as a therapist, I would classify that as arachnophobia. Arachnophobia, because when you really think about it, right? Stop for a second. How different is a snake from an earache? They both infect you.
Yeah, but one is long and slithery and has a tongue.
I don't know what the earaches you've had. Mine are nothing like that. You know, fairly regularly I'll be brought in and asked to work one-on-one and run some sessions for some people who are having some difficulty coping with their fears, right? And we try and work through things, try and get them over what it is that's really upsetting them so much. And my kind of guiding mantra for all of this stuff is that you have to face your fears, right? You really have to. You got to face them. And I remember particularly working with one young gentleman. He came in for a session and we sat down. And I said, "Look, Jamal," I said, I know that you're afraid. I know that you're having some issues, but you really have to face your fears. And he got up and he screamed and he ran out of the room. And I didn't see him for a week until his next session. He walked in, he was kind of timid. I said, "It's all right, it's okay. We're friends here." And he sat down. I said, let's pick up where we left off. It's okay. I understand that you're maybe uncomfortable talking about this, but really we have to face our fears. You have to face your fears. And he got up, he bolted up, he screamed, he ran out of slammed the door. Didn't see him again for a week. And I'm sitting there thinking, is there something wrong with my method of therapy? I mean, I went to George Brown. I got my therapy badge. I'm an accredited, I guess you would call it a therapist. Like, what's going wrong with my technique? And I looked down at his chart. You know what he was afraid of?
What?
Faces. How are you supposed to face? How are you supposed to face that? How do you face a face if you're afraid of it? He was facist. You know, they say there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Have you ever heard him say that?
I've heard that before. What's wrong, Jim?
I don't think I can get it without touching.
What's the problem?
I think it touched me!
What are you talking about? What's wrong?
Arachnophobia!